Well, I love that we got the opportunity to interview a couple.
Yeah.
They're in life together and business together. They're in working their passions together and raising a family together. And, there's so many layers to working a restaurant, and being able to say that you have someone beside you all the time, that's there in it with you and as close to you as that it's such a gift, And we talked a little bit here too about the restaurant industry itself and how it's often, when you're in it, you refer to your coworkers as a family, and they grow their family thoughtfully, and throughout this conversation, I think both you and I realized that it's enough to keep a family close in Teton Valley, Idaho, just because our restaurants, which there are two of them that they're working on together, are successful doesn't mean we have to blow it up and open up something in Big Sky. Forget it. Let's keep it close and close to our hearts and not let it get too far away because we love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Jeff Goldblum's line from Jurassic Park. People get so obsessed with wondering if they could, they never asked if they should. And so sometimes restaurants, they're like, oh, well, these two are working. Let's do two more and two more and two more. And then they wonder why it crumbled. It's like, well, you had family, you had connection to the people, to the area. That's what was working. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I love that whole thing about knowing what you're connected to and appreciating it and keeping it close, keeping your connections close and nurturing what you already have. They both are lifelong learners, you can tell. They both are digging into culinary stuff that, they're never going to run out of things to test or to try or to talk about or to do, because they feed so well off what they've chosen, which is the culinary arts. And together as a couple, again, I just want to say that I admire their teamwork. I admire Lisa and Christian Hanley as a team. And for a person that lives here in their neighborhood and eats at their restaurants, I got to tell you, it's it's worth the trip, Matt. I want you and Sarah to get into the car right now.
Yeah, sounds good.
We're having dinner at Citizen 33 tonight.
Yeah, the brewery sounds fantastic. I love that there's a brewery there, and I love that they have the pedigree of someone who came from a really, really important craft brewery like Abita that was really important in the craft brewing sort of world. And so it's cool to bring that to a community that you have there. It's amazing.
Yeah. Again, they not only do they nurture their own passions and their drive to, keep their, culinary art life basically held together by the people that help them. They ask people to help them who know what they're doing. They ask experts to come in and address what is needed to accommodate, their own success, but also to accommodate the experience of the customer.
Yeah.
And, a culinary experience at Forage is, I don't think I've ever had a bad one. And that's having eaten there, prior to their having bought it. But, part of coming back to here was seeing that restaurant get a little bit of a facelift with new ownership, and they kind of carried the torch and, made it their own, put a stamp on it that was real to who they are as a team. And it's incredibly enjoyable. Yeah, let's plan a visit. What's going on here?
Sounds good. Let's go. I don't want to say too real quick that it's impressive. It would be impressive for a team that wasn't married, that was just two people, to have two successful restaurants, let alone a team that is truly, by definition, a family. To have two successful restaurants and to complement each other, front of house, back of house, is very unique and cool and deserves a lot of praise, because especially in our sort of post 2020 world, to have two functional, thriving restaurants is a real huge win. I think.
And our Mountain Valley community, we're not a big city. To tell you the honest truth, Matt, I have no idea what the population here is. I would say 7,000.
Okay.
So, their enterprises make an impact on the community. We all know every restaurant in the valley, all of us. And there aren't any chains here. We don't compete with fast food. Everything is kind of like owned privately for the most part.
Yeah.
And everybody that's out there doing it, especially post 2020 and still doing it, bravo to all of you.
Mm-hmm.
And Lisa and Christian just happen to be a couple of really savvy-minded and passionate people who are making it work, despite those challenges. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to them. They're so very forthcoming with what they love about it and why they keep doing it. And now I kind of want to see what their kids grow up to be, because
right. Yeah.
When you have parents that just let you play in the kitchen, I mean, come on, that's just such a blessing, as far as I'm concerned, in my own experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's seeping into them. And it's like, either they'll go hard into it or be like, oh, I saw what they had to go through to make 2 restaurants successful. No, thank you. It's either or, really, I think. Yeah.
Right. Or like Christian said, he said maybe his daughter will just go into the corporate part of it.
Right. Yeah. Just run the show.
Walking through and being like, this isn't on brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know.
Restaurants need that too. So.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Okay.
In this episode, it's a really pleasant conversation. And I mean, go enjoy either make yourself or go enjoy a fine meal somewhere, because this is going to make you want to do it. Right?
Definitely. Made me want to do it. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry. All right, audience, this is our first culinary artist team. I didn't get just one person when I asked for this. I got 2. And this is a husband-wife team, Christian and Lisa Hanley, neighbors and friends from Teton Valley, Idaho, where I'm based. And these guys are good at their jobs, I'd say. One of my favorite places to eat is called Forage. And Lisa and Christian are the owners of Forage. And what year did you take over ownership of that?
2015.
Okay, 2015. And then by the time I met them in 2018, I was interviewing them for a newspaper story, because they had just won Best Restaurant in Idaho through a Yelp kind of poll, which has merit because those are customers. And we always like to hear people win on social media over reviews, not lose.
Sure.
So no negative stalking, obviously. But that interview was also about opening a brewery here in town, which you've done, a gastropub, really. And that's called Citizen 33. Yeah. And so our mission here on the podcast is to kind of explore, if you're making a living as an artist, any kind of creative professional, your sense of play has to be alive, because you have to stay curious and have fun, right? Mm-hmm. But you're also balancing a lot as business owners and just trying to make it in the world, make a living. And restauranting, I'm just laughing because it's damn hard. And it is, man, you think only the strongest can survive, and then there's a pandemic, right? But you guys have done great and still really thriving as far as I can tell. So I'd love to dig in with both of you on kind of how you manifest. You still kind of nurture the kid inside because you're doing what you love. But, what are the tough parts? And maybe what part of your creative self gets you through that too, right? And maybe how you can't stop being creative. And I want to say separately too that I have interviewed these two. But I did interview Lisa solely about pie, and it's one of the favorite things I've ever written. And the ironic part of the story that I'll always remember, and we're just going to jump into food right here, is that Lisa learned so much from Christian's mother about pie, and Christian lives a keto life. So the only pie crust she makes is a hash brown pie crust, which is also amazing. So yeah, let's talk about Christian being, kind of like you're maintaining a special diet for yourself, based on kind of these values and principles of how you treat your body, respect. But you're also, operating multiple levels of kind of food genre, like Forage is fine dining.
Yeah.
I said gastropub, Citizen 33, that's what it is. And then, you're embracing all different kind of tastes What's that like for you to kind of maintain your own personal level of discipline with food, but yet you have to?
It's a great question, and it takes a lot of discipline on a daily basis. But I should start at the place that you mentioned in the beginning, which was restaurants and marriages are so similar. And the strength that we have as a married couple transfers into our business life as well. I think the failure rates of marriages and restaurants are about the same.
Oh my God.
So the odds are stacked against us, but we make decisions together and we learn to play together, and that's how we transfer our ideas into reality. But on the diet up front, the place of optimizing nutrition for me came slowly over time as I aged and needed to wear a smile throughout the entire day instead of just in my private moments, you know what I mean? And I found that I was able to balance my emotions and my interactions with others best if I was disciplined in my approach to how I treated myself.
Hey.
So that's where that came from. Yeah,
you get out of it what you put into it, right?
Yeah. And I interact with a lot of people, both employees and customers throughout the day. And it really just isn't fair if I bring an imbalanced emotion to the first meeting with these people. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So do you feel like your game face was too gamey?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
No, it was almost too authentic. It was like, I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Yeah.
And so if their emotions are peaking, you get the most enjoyable person. But if they're crashing, you get the Hulk. You know what I mean?
This is who I am.
Yeah. And I really want to be engaging and loving all the time.
Yeah.
And to do that, I had to really temper, my hormone fluctuations based on sugar intake and alcohol intake and, the like. So that's the journey.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what is it like? You're not keto.
No, I am not.
And I am coming from a place of someone who embraced paleo. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I spend a lot of time trying to manage what I take into my body. At the same time, I love food. Mm-hmm. And, you still want to have fun with it, and you still want to buy a piece of cake, especially at Forage. The address is. But anyway, what is it like to balance that in a household with 2 culinary minds and children?
Yeah.
And Christian is doing it on his own, but I mean, he's pretty self-sufficient in the kitchen, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. The household, it has morphed into, we make a lot of bowls. Oh. And so everyone can add what they want. And I know, our parents are like, don't make a different meal for each individual in the house. That's ridiculous. But it's ridiculous not to give everyone what they
would prefer. Yeah.
So we do a lot of bowls.
Yeah.
Mexican, Mediterranean.
Life is a la carte, baby.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So it works. I mean, and we try to feed the kids healthy.
Yeah.
Because they're happier.
Right. Yeah. I do believe that too. I'm very much a fan of functional medicine and do believe that, your personal choices for what you take into your body really, really matter. And as far as none of us need more cortisol.
Right.
And it does help. And movement,
mm-hmm.
strikes a balance. And that's another thing about Christian's personal choices is he also likes to play in the gym, right?
And the mountains.
The two of you, all of you. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm just as I'm talking, Instagram is rolling through my head. And I'm just and they had the best season at Grand Targhee ever this year. All of you guys.
Yeah.
All of you ski and play together.
Mm-hmm.
So as a tightly kind of knit family, you embrace all those things together. That's wonderful.
We try to.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, he goes on
varying degrees.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
He goes on his backcountry jaunts.
Sure.
But
I need a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, you guys are just kind of embracing it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so then as 2 people that kind of both have education in the culinary field and my favorite thing to say is like, too, when you don't have everything at your fingertips because you've never been trained enough, you just go through OJT for the rest of your life, which is on-the-job training. And it counts for parenting and running a restaurant and doing all those things. Yeah. And so what were the differences in your culinary focuses when you were in study?
Yeah, this is, another aspect of our relationship that carries really well into our business life is that we were firmly divided in front of the house and back of the house. And so we have built-in GM and chef no matter what we do. So, just from that perspective alone, we're like gaming the system,
right
in terms of restaurant ownership. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in school,
I went to culinary school, but always was focused on the front of the house.
Gotcha.
Culinary school, I ended up learning back of the house, just the way the program was. Mm-hmm. But my goal was always front of the house. And then I learned they had a wine program. And so I really gravitated towards the wine.
Fantastic.
And then I did take a baking program. And then, which when we took over Forage, it just kind of evolved that I started baking.
Right.
So that's kind of my baby at Forage.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And your culinary training?
Yeah, I'm classically trained from New England Culinary Institute in Burlington, Vermont. And focus was heavily on restaurant management and kitchen, chefing. Mm-hmm. So the culinary education was awesome. It taught me how to continue to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fully.
I think no one's ever going to know it all, and if they think they do, they need to start over.
Yeah. The further along the process you go, the more you realize you don't know.
That is correct.
And that's the joy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, continuing to, quote unquote, peel that onion, right?
Yeah.
And make it interesting for yourself, but also for the people around you, because you are catering to a client base. And, I think I scraped into restaurant stuff, and I'm a terrible waitress, but I did manage a wine shop that was also an event venue. We had a small menu. And my greatest joy were the customers. Like, mm-hmm. It often didn't matter if I made a mistake that day doing something ordinary, like trying to balance the, till. I'm a writer. Let's just bring it up again. No math for Jenny. But I was easily made to forget those stupid mistakes just when the people started coming in for our events, or if I got to talk to a customer for a long period of time about wine, or it always brought me joy that something culinary could bring someone else joy, and that I could facilitate that. What's that like for you guys?
That's funny. Speaking of the onion, I think when we started this journey, I think the first level was like, I'm going to be a chef, and I'm going to be a great cook, and I'm going to manage a kitchen and all these things, or we're going to have an awesome restaurant, and it's going to have great decor, and it's going to have, it's going to feel good, and we're going to have good service. All those things obviously are integral to the process. But over time, you keyed into it, and we learned this slowly. It was like the relationships are that's the core.
Yeah. And
it's not just the customer relationships. It's the employee relationships. It's the husband-wife relationships, the children relationships, your community.
Yes.
It just doesn't stop.
No.
And that's why, I'll go back to it again. I had to be prepared to be in the mood, to be present and engaged with each person when they were there.
Yeah.
It's the relationship.
Yeah. It's because you're always in it for the long haul. No matter the threat of, we're in a risky industry, you've got to still be grounded in your mission and feeling like we're doing this for as long as we can.
Well, that's another thing, too. And we divide our attention in this way. Like you said, it's the long haul. I'm very good at picking a place way out there in the future. And I'm saying, everybody, we're going over here. And I just start moving in that direction. And Lisa is next there behind me like, okay, guys, let's pick up the thing. Let's clean the thing. Let's do the thing. So we have a leader.
Lisa's like, I have a map.
Yeah, and we have a manager. Yeah.
Listen to him, but really come to me.
Yeah.
I got the details for the map. That's wonderful.
So I'm macro and she's micro.
And so between the two of you, you've got like the best yin yang, right?
Oh, big time. It's
so
major
good.
yin yang.
Yeah. And two, I think speaking of family and community, like there's always these things you if you're into reading about restaurants or restauranting or managing restaurants or being on a restaurant team, it's a family.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
Yes.
And so in that regard, you know, you're there to hold each other up, and you're also there to kind of
Call each other out.
out, and also blindly go along your own way and fully trust.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, I have one thing to do and I can't worry about what anyone else is doing. They've got my back.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And so, I mean, that's why you start your service before you open with a family meal. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it's called. And I don't know. What about coming to Teton Valley and starting up with Forage kind of gave you like the feel, the knowing, like, this is what we're here to. You had lived here prior to that.
This is good. I had, but she hadn't.
Oh.
So I'd love to hear her perspective on moving to this.
So you lived
this
here
community,
and
yeah.
left and went to the desert Southwest.
Correct. To marry her
To marry.
with the intention of coming back here.
Perfect.
Which I didn't realize.
Didn't know at first.
Which you tricked her into doing.
Yeah.
And then 2015, you're the owners of Forage. So yeah, Lisa, please. I have immersed myself into this valley twice as a resident.
Mm-hmm.
Once in the early aughts, and right now, like 2 years ago, I think. And both times I felt new. Even though I had the wisdom of a former resident, I still kind of came back and was like, it's the same and it's different, Jen. Like, just embrace the differences. And,
Right,
and so
right.
you came from Nevada?
We were in Scottsdale,
Okay.
Arizona at the time,
All right.
before we moved here.
Okay.
And so, and I had lived in Denver and grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm more of a city girl.
Right.
And then, but I did live in Colorado and loved snowboarding and skiing and all that. So I knew I would like the snow. But coming here, when I first met Christian in 06, I was like, I don't know, that town there is not much happening.
Oh my God, that's the year I moved here first. And yes, you're right.
I was like,
just part of the charm.
Yeah.
Part of the
oh no, 100%.
Right, but
I think it took me realizing how hard it was to come up with the funding, because we were trying to open a restaurant in Scottsdale.
right.
And so, and which was an exorbitant amount of money.
Of course.
And I think going through that process, realizing how hard it was going to be financially, and also having 2 small children at the time.
Sure.
And
It wasn't just the finances, though. It was like the community was resistant to allowing new people to enter the program. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
There was
I
a
do.
huge barrier to entry,
Yeah.
which doesn't exist here. The barrier is almost like open arms. I've always felt that way.
so in 2015, when the opportunity, it was crazy. The financing for our Scottsdale restaurant had,
Reached an impasse.
like it,
You couldn't go any further.
no. And we were like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
The person, Hondo, who introduced us in 2007, he called like the next day and was like, Forage is for sale. And then we drove up.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the
straight
night.
through, put in an offer, drove home.
Yeah.
It was-
And then, anyway, it just felt like the stars aligned. We still had our house here. We were like,
This is meant to be in
meant
some
to be.
way.
And then just having the small children and this community was huge.
Yes.
I don't know. So coming in 2015, I was very ready, and like it just felt like the right thing.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you started to establish that restaurant family we're talking about, and doing it not just at Forage, but then, with a whole new endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I want to bring up the quote I wrote down for you guys from Anthony Bourdain, which is, without new ideas, success can become stale.
Oh, big time.
And Forage didn't have lack of success. You guys were doing great, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But then suddenly, you're going to make some beer.
Yeah.
Let's build a brewery. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it has to be said, too, that there is another brewery, 2 other breweries on the south end of the valley. And then so kind of Citizen 13 serves it that as that kind of other anchoring brewery on the middle kind of.
Yeah, there's 5 breweries.
Oh, thanks for correcting me.
Yeah.
See, I just got back. I don't know.
No, one just opened.
Oh, great. Good.
So I think there's 3 in Victor and then 2
Nice.
in Driggs.
And we
plus
have
High Point Cider.
I was just going to say, we have
and
a
then
cider
Chasing
house.
Paradise Cider.
Oh, we have a cider house, and I just read a news headline that said that Idaho has the most made cider in the country. Like, Idaho is anchoring that trend right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you guys come for a visit, still can go to High Point Cider. You don't have to always go to Citizen 33, although I highly recommend it.
High Point Cider is delicious.
Yes. And so you've got that endeavor going, and you've been open for almost 4 years.
Citizen
Yeah.
2019.
4 turbulent years.
4 turbulent.
Pandemic years and a lot of fluctuation economically. Yeah.
And I see you also partnering with other breweries in Idaho, kind of helping each other out and shouting each other out and sharing. Tell us about that. I love that idea for Citizen.
That's awesome. Our brewer, Nick Farney, is adamant about using as much Idaho product as he can.
Yes.
Collaborating with as many Idaho brewers as he can. And really, again, it's just back to the building the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's the approach that we feel the most authentic.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you like to keep your sourcing for fresh produce and such very close to home as well. You're sourcing within a close radius.
As much as
As
possible.
much as possible, especially in the summer season when it's, all the farms are just producing so well. The winters are a little harder, but.
Can you tell me how you get around that in the winter?
Yeah, I mean, we have to go further away. We have to go to California. We have to go to Mexico. You know what I mean? And have it come from further away.
And then also the caveat too here for the audience is that we live in a place that has a pretty long winter cycle, and the growing season is pretty short, 6,200 feet, and I don't know what hardiness zone we're in.
Yeah.
Probably like 0. No, I'm just kidding. 4.
Negative.
-2.
Yeah.
So when you can get your hands on that fresh stuff, when they can finally bring it out, it's really kind of gratifying, right?
There is the geeky sort of fall pickling and jamming and canning and that kind of stuff, but it only lasts so long, and then we end up moving into drier stuff, foods that have been dehydrated and dried and reconstituting them and stuff. But
right.
It's a cycle.
And prior to recording, we were talking a little bit about like the wild game stuff that you offer on your menu, which is a really special part of living in this part of the country.
Yeah.
Having that kind of stuff at your disposal, and people are kind of thoughtfully, raising those animals for slaughter. But the benefit is that it's just treated so nicely and served so lovely in the space that you guys do it in. Do either one of you have a favorite flavor profile of wild game? What's your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I love duck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just am a duck guy.
Yeah.
I just feel like it can be done in so many angles and directions to satisfy.
Yeah.
From braising to, brining, smoking. I mean, it takes on so much, so well.
And what would you say to someone who says, I've tried duck and I don't like it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's so odd to me.
Try it again.
It was prepared properly.
Yeah.
Have you tried cooking it in fat? Like, come on. Come on. It's like the best ever.
Get a handle on the logic. No, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I don't know. So, duck is a good one for me.
And do you hunt? Are you a duck? Are you a bird hunter?
I'm not a hunter. I have wandered in the woods with other hunters and helped carry, pack meat out. Sure. Which is, all respect to you guys carrying an elk out of the mountains. That thing is heavy.
I will, yes.
So, I have firm respect for it. Yeah.
Ducks are lighter.
Yeah, ducks, you can carry a bunch of them.
Sling them over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And what about you, Lisa? Do you have any preference in the wild game territory?
I like it all. I don't know. I just like that. What I like is learning how to make different preparations with it and learning how I like it, because I've had it so many times that I didn't care for the taste.
Sure.
That Christian and other chefs have there's a way to make it delicious.
There's a way.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like better ground, or if it's like we were somewhere and they had in Napa and
add bacon.
He made little bacon bites with this elk. I think he just
that sounds good.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but it was like food is always like the location, what you're doing, who you're with.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've learned over the years to enjoy game.
Yeah. And I love it around here because I mean, there's stuff that you never think of. And I never thought in my life that I would love a bison burger when I moved here from Minnesota. In St. Louis before that, by the way, lady.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, go Cardinals.
Woohoo.
Anyway, yeah, so I think that, kind of participating in this community as you're talking about, keeping the sourcing close and kind of understanding too what it means to the citizens around you, to keep your businesses open, to try and be inventive with what you're offering to the community. I mean, I do want to ask, because I wasn't here, but how was the response to the citizen opening? I mean, not really necessarily based on your reputation at Forage, but just in general, to have another pub. What was that like for people? What was the response?
Yeah, I feel like the response was positive and has continued to be positive. It occupies a different space in the market, and it has different employees with different attitudes and different personalities, and it has different customers with similar attitudes and personalities. It's like just market segmentation in a business perspective, but community segmentation too. I mean, we all enjoy this place, but there are different things about this place that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And so we're just trying to connect with more of those people.
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
What I mean?
Yeah. I like to say, I think all walks of life come into Citizen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
right?
so much more inclusive than Forage. Forage is a
Absolutely.
little bit more
Niche-y.
pointed. Yeah.
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 Which is fine too.
No, totally. Yeah. We occupy both spaces because
Yeah.
our creative minds occupy both spaces.
Right.
So that's why it exists.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have to go into this too now finally. As you were children, were you permitted into the kitchen? Were pots and pans and banging on them and making messes a part of both of your bringing up?
100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you had parents that weren't like, hey, get out of here.
No.
It was like,
My mom
here's
was
the
like,
dinner
yeah,
menu.
same.
You need to make it by 5 o'clock.
I get home
Don't
from work
burn
at
it.
5. I want dinner on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we both had working
Yeah,
parents.
That taught their kids how to cook.
Mhm. And then this is funny. We were going to Disney World, and my mom's like, you need to make money to have if you want to spend it, like babysitting or doing whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how this happened, but I sold pound cakes to a bunch of neighbors and friends.
No.
Yeah, you want to buy a pound cake?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Lisa.
So I ended up making like $100, and at that time, I was rich. And
She's a cottage industry.
yeah,
in
but
St.
it was
Louis.
just funny to look back and see that I started baking at such a young age.
and kind of being entrepreneurial. About
Yeah.
Like a Disney World in your sights.
Yeah.
Dangle a carrot.
Totally.
So that's great. And again, Christian's mom was a baker, really.
Yeah.
Heavily.
Yeah.
And then you ended up learning from her. And, that's a really great way to also to get to know someone.
Yeah.
Maybe to be
Oh, yeah.
in their kitchen.
Oh, for
It's,
sure.
The organization is there and you want someone to be open about it.
Mhm.
And, obviously she raised a culinary artist. So
Yeah.
she was open to also opening up your kind of box of tricks in that
Yeah.
way. That's so great. And so you keep playing and, realizing different skills that you didn't know you had before. And what about your own children? Are
Oh my
they?
gosh.
I can only imagine, right? Like I've never experienced this. I really need to embed myself in your house for at least a weekend, just to see what they're up to.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking about when they were like 3 and 5 when we first moved here and took over Forage, and they'd walk, they'd be with us at the restaurant and walk into the dining room mid-service, and it was just, they literally grew up in the restaurant. And I can't tell if that's going to
Like
be a
we
good
were
thing.
changing diapers.
Yeah, in the basement.
While
Yeah.
trying to run the restaurant upstairs. I'm
Certainly,
like,
yeah.
oh my gosh,
Right.
this is a little crazy.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the kids, they helped prep and
Yeah.
wash dishes and did all the things.
And they call the staff their friends, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it helps socialize them in a mature way eventually, even though there's a lot of immaturity that exists in restaurants.
What did Bourdain call it? He called it the pirates' camaraderie.
Yeah, hopefully. It's like
You
a
know?
ship on fire.
We're not going down yet, but we're out of fire extinguishers right now. Wow, yeah, that is a part of, I think, being such a fan of Anthony Bourdain, I am very keyed into, and having known so many people in the restaurant industry, that it is a rogues, I almost said rogues gallery, that's a different thing in the restaurant industry, but it is a rogues game. It is
we call it an alternative lifestyle.
Very much so.
Fully
And
is.
there's so many ways that people can trip into what they're doing associated with food. And again, Lisa brings up, the front of the house is just as important as the back.
Yeah.
And, personalities come in all different forms with so many layers of how a restaurant operates.
Yeah.
And so you're better at the front of the house now because you actually changed how you approach food.
Well, also, too, being forced to cook in an open kitchen, it kind of turns you into a front of the house employee if you want to be one or not.
Right.
But yeah, it's nice, though, to be able to see the connection between the human and the food as it's entering the table, as it's entering their mouth. When you get the first bite and the nod, you're like, yes, nailed it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and there's your connection right there.
Yeah. Birthdays, holidays, you know what I mean? There's so much going on emotionally that people I don't even think realize. It puts food on the level of what's the word? Like fetish. I mean, it's really high in the emotional trigger points.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting to witness.
It is. And then there's so many aspects to that very personalized experience. I've had meals ruined by the people I sat next to.
Yeah, 100%.
And the food was amazing, but the company was trash. And I think that tripping into a culinary experience as an immersive experience and accepting everything around you as it's happening, it keeps you present, and the art on the plate is temporary, and let's, indulge ourselves in the other part of that, which is flavor. No other art brings that to the table. Jen, with your puns, come on. But it's the truth. Like, an artist can spend hours on a canvas and no one's ever going to taste the art,
right?
And so what can you talk to me about the temporary art of the culinary practice?
It's such a good topic. We talk about this a lot. It's so impermanent.
The beauty on the plate, and the moment when you can sigh and say to yourself, I'm about to immerse myself in this, but oftentimes we don't even want to disturb it, right? It's so pretty.
Yeah.
And it does trigger, though, that pursuit for the creativity.
Yeah,
because you can really accomplish an amazing dish, perfectly balanced, all these flavors, visually beautiful, stunning, blah, blah, blah. And then it's gone. It disappears. And there's a memory of it.
Yes.
Maybe a memory of the flavor, or the smell, or the visual, but or the company, and it's gone. And in order to continue to, show up every day, it's like setting up a circus in a town every single day. And you'd have no idea who's going to perform, who's going to show up to watch. And you get the opportunity to continually test new ideas, test new things. You know what I mean? Yeah. The growth is, in order to stay engaged, it's like you have to continue to teach yourself how to learn, how to grow.
Yeah.
Continue to connect.
What's a favorite part of opening Citizen 33 that you loved as far as learning?
That was a good one, yeah.
That was fun. I think what was fun about that is that when we took over Forage, it was pretty much like we bought it turnkey.
Gotcha.
So
everything was in place.
Everything was in place. We just went in and rolled with that, how it was, and then added our little touches over the years.
Yeah, modified it. Yeah.
And then Citizen, we bought the building.
It was from scratch.
It was from scratch. And so we had a lot of learning curve. And brewing beer, that is not something that we knew anything about.
Right.
Granted, Nick, our brewer, knew what he was doing. And so he guided us. But just that whole part of that restaurant is a new undertake, like a learning curve.
Yeah.
All the time.
I'm sure you're still learning. I was just going to say.
Totally. Now we're just starting to get the beer in Idaho Falls and other locations, which is really cool. But it's been 4 or 5 years it's like baby steps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at least for us, we just have to do everything in a certain process.
We built a complete brew line and then already exceeded capacity in the first year and had to build a bigger brew line.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just, these are things you don't know until you know that you don't know them.
Right.
That kind of stuff. There's a lot of learning. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And then just the building of the restaurant.
Yeah. Certainly.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing.
Construction. Timelines. Budgets.
Yeah. Budget.
Right.
Real adult stuff.
Budgets.
Yeah.
That's the best stuff ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're really, I think the full on like lifestyle of like keeping play in your life, staying inspired by embracing change,
Yeah.
which is really important to the human spirit.
Yeah.
I think that people forget we're supposed to evolve, and that's more than just your spinal cord. Like we're upright, we're thinking, we've got potential. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And to not understand that you have that potential until the day you leave this planet, you're losing out. Like what more can you do? And it's not really just about like what more can I learn outside what I already know. What more can I learn about what I already know? Like there's more layers to what I already know.
Yeah.
There's depths of that you still haven't explored.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Are you guys gonna put that beer in some cans? What's gonna happen next?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Start a rumor.
It's on the trajectory for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so I want to ask the ages of your kids too.
Oh, our daughter's 13, Maddie, and then Ollie is 11.
Mm-hmm.
And are either one of them considering a culinary career?
They both talk about it.
Yeah.
Ollie's like, I'm going to go to dad's school.
When asked if he's going to go to college, he's like, no, I'll just go to learn how to cook from dad kind of thing. I think it might just be lip service personally, but we'll see.
And then Maddie, she often says she wants to go to culinary school and travel abroad, like go to Europe and learn to cook over there.
Right.
Then we always tease her that she's going to be the CEO of the restaurant.
Yeah, she'll be the one that walks through the dining room and is like, look at this, why isn't this bust? Why aren't these tables pushed together? Like constantly, it's crazy.
Right.
But I'm in no rush to encourage my children to enter this line of work.
Yeah.
I mean,
If they find it, that's great.
It is kind of cute.
Or if it finds them. Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to push it too much, but they might be doing some dishes.
Well, you can't avoid dishes, and you can't avoid knife skills.
Boy, no, you cannot.
And those are just the things that have to be kind of built into you to be brave about. I can't even imagine dinner service dishes at Forage or either one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it overwhelms me to think about how hard they work. They work so hard, you guys.
I know.
We do a lot of dishes in our world.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
All the time.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so, continuing forward, you're like here in Teton Valley, and there's a broader Rocky Mountain West out there. People consider chains. We've got our own kind of local pizza, kind of boutique pizza place that is opening in Bozeman and Big Sky. I mean, that guy is pretty ambitious about it. Do you want to keep it close, or would you consider another town in the West, somewhere like Bozeman, to have another place? Or
Tetonia looks pretty good.
Tetonia.
We like to keep it tight.
I'm Teton Valley, baby.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. For now, I've got my hands full.
Oh man, we just started another rumor. Beer in the cans, food in the Tetonia.
Yeah.
Advanced Pretend is a podcast produced by 9 Stories Creative Podcast Studios, created by Jen Ryan, executive produced and edited by Matt Jackson. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.